Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into something that literally shapes the world around us, our cities, our roads, how we get from A to B. It's called public investment appraisal. Basically, it's how governments decide where to spend your money. Let's get right into it. Come on, we've all been there, right? You're driving past some gigantic new construction project, a bridge or maybe a new railway line, and you just can't help but think, is this really the best use of our money? It's a totally fair question. We're talking about billions of dollars of public funds, so you'd hope there's a good reason for it. Well, believe it or not, there's a whole formal system designed to answer that exact question. It's called investment appraisal. You can think of it as the government's required homework before it's allowed to spend our tax money. The whole point is to figure out if a project is not just a good idea, but the absolute best idea on the table.
So, what's this process actually trying to achieve? Let's break down the main goals.
First off, this isn't just about finding the cheapest option. It's all about getting value for money, which means squeezing the most benefit for society out of every dollar spent. It forces decisions to be based on actual evidence, not just politics. It helps officials prioritize, which projects should go first. It's also about spotting risks early on, before they turn into expensive disasters. And, maybe most importantly, it's about being open and accountable to you, the public. Okay, that's the theory, but to really get it, let's follow a project's journey, all the way from a simple idea to a concrete reality. Okay, so let's imagine a city that's just being choked by traffic. It's a nightmare. The problem is crystal clear. People are wasting hours just trying to get around. So someone proposes a solution, the waterfront bridge project. This is our starting point, a big problem that desperately needs a solution. So pretty much every major project follows a roadmap that looks like this. You start by identifying the problem, our traffic jam. Then you ask, is this even possible? That's feasibility. After that, you look at all the options, you crunch the numbers to see if it's worth it, you get the final green light, and then you build it and keep an eye on it. Let's zero in on one of the most critical stages. All right, we're zooming in on stage 3, option appraisal. This right here is where the real debate kicks off. See, building the bridge isn't the only game in town. What about just expanding the ferry service? Now you've got a real choice, and each one has pluses and minuses. The bridge, it costs a fortune up front, but could totally transform the city's economy. The ferry, it's way cheaper and greener, but it might only be a band-aid on the traffic problem. So, how do you possibly choose?
Well, you don't just flip a coin. You bring in a special set of analytical tools that are designed to measure and compare the value of each option. And one of the most powerful tools in that kit is the cost-benefit analysis, or CBA. It's a really systematic way of adding everything up. On one side of the ledger, you have all the benefits. And this is where it gets interesting. They actually put a dollar value on things like the time you'd save not being stuck in traffic, or the health benefits from having cleaner air. On the other side, you tally up every single cost, from the steel and concrete to the maintenance for the next 50 years. And after all that math, you get a single beautiful number, the benefit-cost ratio. For our bridge project, let's say it's 1.5. This makes the whole decision so much clearer. It means that for every single dollar we put into building this bridge, society gets $1.50 back in total value. Any ratio over 1 is generally a thumbs up. Okay, this all sounds incredibly neat and tidy, doesn't it? But we all know the real world is, well, a lot messier. The process is full of potential traps. For example, it's super common for people pushing a project to be a little too optimistic about how great it will be and how little it will cost. They call it optimism bias. Suddenly, the price tag doubles, and those amazing benefits never quite show up. And of course, sometimes pure politics can shove a bad project forward, even when all the data is screaming, don't do it. And a big one is when those important social or environmental costs get ignored, leaving big problems for later. So how do we protect ourselves from all these problems? Well, a really good appraisal process has safeguards built right in. The best defense is a good offense. Strong systems plan for these issues. They have independent experts double-check the math to catch that optimism bias. They run sensitivity tests, asking tough what-if questions like, okay, what if the cost of steel goes up 50%? Is this still a good idea? And crucially, they do the whole thing out in the open, so the public can see exactly why a decision was made and hold people accountable. When you look at it, the whole philosophy comes down to this.
Yeah, value for money is the biggest piece of the pie, of course, but it's held up by these other crucial pillars: accountability, transparency, and making sure the project is sustainable for the long haul. You really can't have one without the others. They all have to work together. At the end of the day, after all the analysis and all the debates, the entire reason this complex process exists is for one simple, powerful goal: to make sure public money is spent effectively, efficiently, and fairly.
So the next time you hear about a new highway, a new hospital, or maybe a high-speed train line being planned for your community, you'll know what's going on behind the scenes. You'll understand the gauntlet it's supposed to run through. And more importantly, you'll know the right questions to ask to make sure your money is really being spent wisely.